Baton Rouge. Time to shift topics and move over to items that will be, items of closer to home nature than talking about the general tipping that we were talking about in our last hour. Councilwoman Lori White Adams joins us. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Before we get into the business at hand, you were able to make it up to Washington Mardi Gras. You were one of the council members that was on hand for the announcement about the airport.
Yes, exciting.
One of the things I was asking all my guests while I was up there was, what do you get out of Washington Mardi? Like, everybody goes up with a mission and who they want to talk to and whatnot. From a council person's standpoint, what was the aim other than that one announcement? But what do you get out of it?
I would say you get to connect with state leaders, with regional leaders, with people that you normally wouldn't be able to get in a room easily with, and then get some of those people together. So I was able to have a few conversations in a round circle with people that I wouldn't normally be able to all get in one place without maybe 3 or 4 weeks of coordination. That's worth its weight in gold. And there's some things that I'm going to be working on over the next couple months because of conversations we had there.
Can't wait to learn more about them. And watching the next couple months unfold from every level, city, parish, state, it's just a region. It's going to be watching it play out after getting, being part of a few of those conversations and overhearing a little bit and whatnot. It's fun to see it happen in real time. All right.
It's gold.
A little bit more serious, a little bit more somber is the story from WBRZ yesterday. A new homeless encampment right off Segan Lane has become a big concern for homeowners in the area. Jefferson Terrace subdivision, or right outside of Jefferson Terrace subdivision, is where this at. Walk us through how this came to your desk.
So Saturday, I think it was Sunday afternoon, got an email from one of the members of the HOA of this neighborhood saying, hey, have you seen this post on Nextdoor? And it was about the encampment forming and just on the other side of a residential fence. So I went to visit the home the other day, and your children's bedrooms are right there, and then 10, 12, maybe 14 feet, there's a fence, and then an encampment. Probably 9, 10, maybe 11 people in that encampment with some dogs as well. This mom was certainly concerned. She felt like she couldn't let her kids play in the yard, which eventually the sun is going to return and children will return to their yards. It won't be today, but it's coming.
Tomorrow it'll be colder, but it'll be tomorrow.
Yeah. But certainly, understand the concern. And I think there's a lot of noise going on in the encampment at night. And there's just a general, feeling of uneasiness, not only from that home, but the homeowners down the street. Some boards have been broken off the fence. They were concerned.
What's the process here? How is this approached?
So these situations are difficult. And, as one encampment is decommissioned, is disbanded, then other ones form. And so it's a constant process. When I learn about one in the district, I reach out to, the city parish, to the Office of Community Development, let them know what's going on. And then they will deploy hot teams. Which both the BRPD and the sheriff's office have kind of homeless intervention teams.
Okay.
People who are trained. They're trained to deal with these situations. They have a protocol that they follow. They have social workers that they work with, and then they have knowledge of the resources that are available. And so they'll deploy and start to work with the encampment. In hopes, of course, always in hopes that you can get people to accept help. Right. So
that's a big part of it. But another part of this is, let me just ask a question. Are they breaking the law?
Oh, sure. Yeah, because they're on private property. They're trespassing.
Oh, well, because when it said that we were on the other side of the fence, I didn't realize whether or not that would still be private property. The way the story says, this campsite is not in their neighborhood. It's on the other side of the fence, which faces Segan Lane. So they wouldn't be in a neighborhood and they wouldn't be in a right of way.
That's right. They're on private property, and so they're technically trespassing. And that actually usually is the first step. We do a little bit of research to figure out, okay, who owns this property. That's kind of the first.
Does the actual owner of the property have to be the one that complains?
Yes. Okay. Right. The owner of the property could certainly give people permission to be there. But I've only found that once or twice, maybe in my tenure. Most times, the owner, it's making a mess, and it's causing problems for the property owner as well.
Well, and here's where we start to get to the sticky parts of the discussion, because people's fuses are going to start getting shorter eventually.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you said hot team goes in.
Yes, they do.
Okay, they break up the encampment. They try to find services, and then what?
Well, then normally these encampments reform every once in a while in a different location. There are some people who accept help. We have a bus ticket program for people who realize they've had enough. They want to go home. They want to go to their family. If their family will receive them and give them a place to stay, then we have a bus ticket program that will get them home. So you're hoping to get these people, God bless them, off the street, into drug treatment, into mental health services. As a lot of times they are not interested. And then there are times where we don't have the resources available too. So
I feel like in recent years, a lot of effort has been put into finding resources, a lot of effort in the bus ticket program we've talked about before. You and I have talked about this before.
Yeah, sure.
And it seems like the homelessness problem is growing along with the availability of help.
Absolutely. Brian, this may be bigger than what you want to talk about, but when I look at society only works if the overwhelming majority of people do like we do and get up, go to work every day, take care of the things we need to take care of.
Right.
And it does feel like we're at a tipping place where we have more people that need help than we have the resources or ability as a society to help. There are a number of organizations in Baton Rouge who do help. But it's a patchwork. It's a patchwork. I wouldn't even call it a quid. I'd call it a bunch of patchwork pieces. And it's very difficult. I've had trouble getting, different organizations or even collaboratives to explain to me, from the first step, from the first moment of homelessness to being homed and healthy, what is that path? And I think that we're struggling, not just here, across the nation, to put those organizations together and to truly create a path from whatever has led to you being on the street to being homed, healthy, able to provide for yourself.
Do we have numbers? Do we have percentages on the kind of turnaround where we can see an encampment like that, and then, they were able to accept help, or they were able to receive help, and they're on their path to returning to the rest of society, versus they've snubbed their nose at it, they're back out on the street, they're probably just going to post up outside of another neighborhood?
Right. I don't have those numbers. The administration might, and there might be some numbers nationally. I haven't found those numbers, but there's very likely that they're out there.
The national numbers. Hang on one quick second. Alondra, can you let? Okay. Then the national numbers. It is a national problem. Yes. Do we have comparisons? Is it worse here? Because that's one thing when we look at, like, let's say the Baton Rouge Police Department, they're short a few off. They're short just under 100 officers.
That's right.
That feels bad until you look down the street in New Orleans and they're short by more than 700. Like we see national problems hit home, but we only see them through a local lens because this is where we are.
That's right. So when I was working on the homeless ban on right of ways,
yes,
probably 6, 7, 8 months ago, I did a lot of research, and I don't think it's worse here.
Okay.
I think it's more personal here because this is our home, and a multitude of reasons why it'd be personal here. But other communities are struggling with this. There are no easy solutions. And I think a lot of it, and this is the world according to Laurie, this is nothing but, statistical, but I think a lot of it relates to drug use and the opioid crisis.
So, yes, yeah. And that would translate from the homeless population over to the panhandling population as well.
Yeah.
Which is where a lot of people lump those two populations together when there's a lot of separation between them.
There's a lot of separation, absolutely. And even from neighborhood to neighborhood, what the hot teams tell me is, you see different types of homelessness. So, out on Segan Lane, my experience has been that we see more people who are addicted to drugs. Downtown Baton Rouge, I feel like I see more people who probably have some type of mental health issue.
Yeah. And that's when you start walking the line between we want to help, but how much of this becomes the responsibility of the entire city?
Right.
It's a tough question to answer.
It is a tough question.
You don't want to be inhumane, but at the same time, though,
how humane is it to let someone who is mentally unwell be sleeping on the street and not receiving care? And yeah, I'm with
right. But I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but you and I have talked about it before, and I believe you have said something to the effect of they've got a whole network where homeless people talk to each other from other homeless places.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you work the problem on the humane end without attracting more of a population to migrate this way?
I understand that completely, and I think that's a concern. I mean, we're a generous community, we're a loving and kind community, but we're also a community that does not have a ton of resources or ability to help people. We want to help people, we just don't have the ability.
The last line of the story from WBRZ says the city parish is working to get the homeless prevention teams on site by next week. Does that mean the encampment just stays up until they do?
I know that people have been out there already.
Okay.
Several.
Okay.
So the sheriff's office was out there. Volunteers of America sent some of their trained professionals out there as well. So it's already been visited. I'm not sure about that line in that story.
That kind of struck me because if I'm the homeowner,
right,
that's when frustration levels rise.
Sure.
And when frustration levels rise, that's when things get completely off kilter.
My experience has been, our public safety officials, our law enforcement officials, they're really they're stretched thin, but they try so hard. And so my experience has been that they're usually out there within a day or two, and it takes a while to work with the encampment. It's not quick, but they're out there pretty quickly. Yeah.
From the homeowner's standpoint, what's the reaction that you get? Just not singling out this one, but just in general, is it? Obviously there's a level of fear,
there is,
but is there anger as well?
Sure. I think there's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. I think I get more fear out of homeowners. A lot of our businesses that have had to deal with these homeless issues in and around their business, with catalytic converters being cut off their trucks, with fences being broke into, with people sleeping in doorways, making their female employees not feel comfortable to come in early in the morning. Those business owners, a lot of times, I sense just extreme frustration with them because they're fighting hard to keep their business going, to be profitable in a difficult time, and then these issues come in and. Just frustration. You
had mentioned a little while ago, you and I have talked about similar topics within the last 8 months or so. Is there more planned from the Metro Council's end to kind of stave this off before it becomes, oh my word, they're in my backyard?
So as someone who's been an administrator in private schools for a couple decades, it's really difficult for me because I want to run the program. But on the Metro Council, we're the legislative body. We're the policy. We're the policy body. So right now, I don't know of any policy changes that we need to make. But certainly, if the administration needed some policy changes made to support their work, I would be there for that. But it's an administration thing at this point.
Yeah, and it's a matter of it's difficult because it plays into the whole scenario, and it's not just this one thing. But if you're the homeowner looking out of your back window,
100%.
That's the one thing is the only thing you're seeing.
Absolutely.
I'm not seeing an economic issue, a socioeconomic issue, a mental health issue, a drug issue. I'm seeing there's a couple of tents right there,
That's right.
and a
I don't know who they are.
A lot of garbage and some dogs.
That's right. That's exactly right. Absolutely. Very, very concerning. Same for business owners who have people sleeping in bushes, defecating and urinating in and around their business, making people not want to come to their business. So we're dealing with this in multiple areas. That one made it on the news, but there are multiple places.
She is Councilwoman Lori White Adams. We always appreciate the time and the information. Thank you so much for coming down today.
Thank you, Brian. Take care.
Here comes news.